Here it is, big reveal. So this is a 1973 Polaris Colt 340 SS. Just got this thing in the shop because, of course, I needed another project to work on. But I bought this sled and all of these spare parts that you see here on Facebook Marketplace for $100. So this thing's got kind of a cool backstory. The guy thinks that it was in his family for its entire life. Said his dad was the original owner. He was the last one to drive this thing. That was about 20 years ago. It's been in storage ever since. Thinks that it ran fine when they parked it. But obviously quite a bit of work to do on this thing to get it back to its former glory. But I am determined to get this thing on the snow, running good, have a little bit of fun with it, have another machine around. You can see here we got a spare bumper with it, a spare set of drivers, which of course are already failed, which is apparently a known issue on these, but the drivers that are installed look fine. Got a couple of spare belts, which are probably hard as a rock. Got a spare track, and I've heard that these tracks are known for shedding those metal cleats. So you have an option of kind of going through and re-riveting some of those if you feel like it, or doing a rubber track conversion. Got a spare hood. I think that came on a Colt, a different model, 295, I believe. Got a spare secondary clutch with the gear case connected to it. Spare skid, set of handlebars with a tachometer, different tail light, and he had a brand new in the package rear skid shock. So I've got big plans with this. I've already been talking to a bunch of people at work who are way more familiar with these sleds than I am, trying to get a list of what I need to order to rebuild on this thing and just ensure that once it is running and driving the way that we want it to be, that it is sort of reliable. Really excited. I'll be posting a few videos on this one. This video is just going to be my initial findings, what I know I need to order right away, and we'll continue to make progress on it as we go through the season here. So stick with me, appreciate it, and come along with me on this journey. Okay, let's take a look at this thing. So we'll start under the power barn here. Like I said, this is a 340. I did clean off our engine numbers over here to confirm that. You can see we've got a 34 and a -02, so the second rev. Overall, this thing is not that dirty. I mean, obviously you need to take this thing out, give it a good degrease, but overall, I mean, going around the sled, of course, there's some amount of rust. These sleds are cool because they were steel. Obviously, all the new ones, aluminum, which are lighter, don't corrode, but that's part of what makes this old school stuff cool, right? But I am really excited to see what we can do here. We've got 2,900 miles on the clock, so for an old sled, you know, that is a fair amount of back-breaking miles. Going through some of our spare parts I mentioned, like I said, I've got a spare skid here. That one would definitely need some bogies to be able to run. I've got a spare secondary and gear case. I have not looked to see if there's any internals in that gear case yet. This spare hood that I mentioned off of a Colt 295. Got a spare bumper here that would need some polishing to put it on the sled, but this bumper that's on the sled now has a fairly substantial dent up front, so that spare one is a pretty good alternative here. Spare pipe, that looks like it's in pretty good shape too, honestly, but the one that is on there is in pretty good shape as well, so really good base to start with. Excited to get to work on this thing and make it run. Let's see what we got for mileage on that one. Looks like 912. Swap her out, this thing will be worth another few $100. Pretty cool. One of the things I'm noticing right off the rip is that this thing's got an actual metal cable recoil rope instead of the modern rope. Kind of neat. pretty hilarious to put this thing next to what is a modern snowmobile. Looks like a kid sled up next to this. Of course, the length is going to be different being that that is a RMK, but even the height difference, I mean, it is pretty funny to have both of these in the shop at the same time.
First things first here, we got the spark plugs pulled out and we're going to just take a look at the cylinders since this hasn't been running for supposedly about 20 years, ran when parked type of deal. So this is the mag side cylinder. See, you've got a little bit of schmoo on top of the piston, a little bit of rust on that side of the cylinder. Not bad going around, a little bit of scuffing on the PTO side of the cylinder. Overall, not too bad. A little bit of rust down there. Going into the PTO side cylinder. No hole in the piston. This is just a super cheapo Amazon bore scope, so don't expect anything too fancy. I don't really see any rust in this one. Looks okay from a scuffing standpoint too. This head doesn't pivot, so it's a little bit difficult to see. Well, overall, I think it'll run. Well, next step is to see if we got lightning. So we got our mag side wire hooked up. We've got that spark plug electrode touching engine ground. This isn't going to tell you how strong your spark is, but it'll at least tell you if you got spark. Looks good. Other wire. Yep. Another quick check here. Let's make sure that those piston rings are sealant to the cylinder. We've got the Harbor Freight compression tester hooked up to the mag. I have no clue what this should be running if it's healthy. Of course, this tester's got a really long hose on it, so it normally reads low, but let's just make sure we got some pressure and that both sides are kind of close. All right. That's what we got on the mag. Let's try PTO. PTO, here we go. Pert near the same as the mag. That should be enough to run anyways.
Okay, so now where I'm at on the sled is trying to figure out what the heck do I need to order to get this thing at least running and driving and moving around. So one of the first things I wanted to check is the issue with this brake. You can see this thing is solid. He told me about this. I come down here and notice that the secondary clutch does not move. So one of the first things I wanted to check, because these things have issues with the drivers braking, is to make sure that the driver teeth were okay. Those look okay. Okay, so take apart the gear case, chain, gears, everything look okay. There wasn't a drop of fluid in here. That's not great. These are literally just held on with 2 thumb screws, which is sort of comical. Anyways, that all looks okay. So after I got that chain removed, I came back here. Okay, confirm that the track moves. So I think it's just that brake binding up. So I'll have to take that apart. Other observations I made is when taking apart some carburetor stuff here, one of these choke cables was seized up solid in that bore. As I was pulling on it, the choke cable snapped. So I am going to have to order a new choke cable. I'm going to order some carburetor gaskets. A friend of mine told me it's a good idea to go ahead and redo the diaphragm inside of that McCuney fuel pump. These spark plug ends are junk. So new spark plugs. We'll put some non-resistive style NGK spark plugs in here. And that's going to start to get us pretty close to where this thing can run decent, hopefully, and move under its own power. That's the goal. I'll keep you updated. Appreciate you guys watching. I'm going to have some more stuff coming out on this beauty. Hopefully, be a nice machine for me this year.